Hey everybody, it's Lynne and Liam, and you are watching The Ins and Outs with Lynne and Liam, where we find an article on the internet and discuss it. And this week I've taken my advice from Liam. Usually I just randomly Google sex and whatever comes up, and I talk about that. This time I was more purposeful about my article because people have been asking me about this more and more lately, and I have a theory as why, which I'll discuss. But my article this week is a women's health article, and it's 16 reasons why you might have a bump on your vagina. And Liam didn't realize this. We were chatting about this earlier, but I truly believe that part of the reason that we have more bumps on our vaginas lately is because we have been at home for so long wearing, and I say we as like a Vagina Owners United kind of thing. We've been at home and we've had fresh air on our vaginas, and we've been able to wear like nightgowns and sweatpants. And now a lot of us are going back to work. And so there's more restriction and more heat and more sweating happening on our vaginas. And so like literally in the last few weeks, I know multiple people have had bumps on their vaginas. And so here we're going to talk about it, Liam.
I mean, it's definitely, I've heard, important to keep your vagina aerated. So
it's very hot. The vagina is the oven, right? And so, and one of the blessings of being at home is you could do Zoom, right? You don't know if I have pants on. I do. I'm at work, but you get fresh air on your genitals. But now today I'm wearing like really fitted jeggings. Oh, yeah. And so like way less air than normal. Sorry if that's oversharing.
I mean, I definitely know that like through Zoom, you don't have to wear pants, because last time we did this, I was wearing pajama pants and everybody got to see my beautiful fleece pajama pants. And now I am wearing gym shorts because
I noticed that earlier, actually.
Yeah, I was like exercising.
So before, what was that?
I exercised this morning, just haven't changed yet. But about the bumps on vaginas, one thing that I found like really interesting, I found really interesting about this article was that like I knew women had like a bunch of like glandular ducts down there that like secrete fluids for different reasons. I just didn't realize like how many of them could get like clogged and like filled up and then cause.
I mean, if you have a gland, it could probably get clogged. That's the truth of it, right? Like
definitely.
Sometimes you can get like sweat glands in your armpits. So like all the glands around the vagina can get clogged and cysty.
Yeah, even like your Skene's gland. So I wonder like if like, so the Skene's gland is what causes people to squirt, for anybody who doesn't know that, or like female ejaculation, whatever. I wonder like if you ejaculate more, if you're less likely to get a clog.
No, well, I can't verify that this is true, but it was an episode of Grey's Anatomy. Oh. So it might be true. One of the people is a sex worker, and they develop a tumor or some sort of clog or abscess in, I believe, their Skene's gland. And I don't know if they suggested it from being heavily used, but either their Bartholin or their Skene's gland gets clogged, and then they have to have surgery, and it like limits their ability to continue sex work. That's like a later episode, when Grey's Anatomy got real radical and started talking about social justice issues. But yeah, so yeah, you can totally get clogged ducts of your glands.
Yeah.
I think we should start by Liam saying that, do you know the phrases, if you hear hoofbeats, think horses, not zebras? Do you know this? So it's like, if you hear hoofbeats coming, assume they're horses, not zebras. And so if you have a bump on your vagina, don't just jump straight to cancer, right? That would be zebras. Assume that you have an ingrown hair or a zit or something. Don't panic is the point. And don't jump to the worst, because it is unlikely. I'm not a doctor. But it's unlikely. It's way more likely that you have like some sort of zit, ingrown hair or something than you do cancer.
Definitely. Like,
although you might have cancer.
Yeah, you could definitely have cancer. But I think, again, the most common thing is like you probably have like just acne down there, which you can get acne anywhere on your body, right? And like ingrowing hairs from like shaving and stuff like that is probably the most common. Like even for dudes, if you like a lot of guys like shave their genitals bare, and it causes like these like acne looking weird razor burn or whatever.
Right. Okay. So I made a list of all the things that might cause bumps on your vagina.
Okay.
You covered zits and hair removal. Moles, they could be moles, right? And moles are perfectly normal to have on your genitals, but you should track them.
Yes, to make sure they're not like growing to become cancer. And
also, my husband had a mole right here.
Oh, really?
And it was the darkest mole I've ever seen in my entire life. And he went to the dermatologist and they removed it because it might have been cancer.
Nice.
So you got to take a peek at your vagina. That's the point of that example. How do you know if you have a dark mole if you're not taking a nice peek at your vagina now and again?
Yeah, you should always like look at your whole body and check it out for stuff. But when it comes to moles, you mentioned like how dark they are, but not all moles are super dark either. So like they could just be like some sort of like reddish discoloration on your skin that could still be a mole.
Right. And they could be wide or bumpy, but you should always make sure that you're aware of your body moles. I am like obsessed with making sure I know where all the moles on my body is because I'm convinced I'll get skin cancer and then I'll die of skin cancer.
I have a hard time because like I have so many freckles all over my body.
You got that fair skin? Oh yeah.
Yeah, so like I'm like, is this a new freckle? Is this an old freckle? I got no idea.
You got to do an inventory.
I do.
Make a list of where you have moles and then add it.
I mean, there's just too many to like know.
That's true. Okay, so we covered cysts. You can have so many cysts. And a cyst, it can be like a painful bump. It could be the size of a dime. It could be small. And it will hopefully go away. Some people say you should pop things. I do agree. I don't pop anything.
So I do pop things, but I know you're not supposed to.
No. It's just like, what if it becomes infected? The vagina is hot. There's bacteria. There's too much going on to be opening wounds.
Yeah.
That's just my personal opinion. I'm not a doctor.
Plus, if you pop them, it's more likely to cause scarring, which then will lead to like scars around your vagina, and probably something like most people don't want.
Yeah, just leave it be and it'll go away, hopefully. And if it doesn't, then you go to the doctor.
Yeah, or put some like cream on it or whatever.
Warts. You can have warts. And so warts are caused by HPV, which is a sexually transmitted infection. And correct me if I'm wrong, Liam, if you want to avoid getting HPV from warts, the vaccine protects you from it.
It protects you from some. So it protects you from most of the cancer-causing forms of HPV that cause also warts, but there are some that aren't cancer-causing that still cause warts that it doesn't protect you against as much.
Gotcha. You should still think about getting the vaccine though.
Yeah, always get the vaccine. It's super important.
So if you have warts on your genitals, that is HPV. And it is perfectly okay to have HPV. You're not gross, right? You're not weird. You just have some warts on your vagina and you can get them removed, or you could just, I mean, if they're not in the way of anything, you could just let them chill.
Definitely. But I mean, so it's probably better to get them removed than not because it's easier to spread HPV if you have the warts than if you don't have the warts.
Also, depending on where it is, it's probably hard to have sex with a wart.
Yeah, it could also be hard. Also, cosmetically, like a lot of people just like don't want warts around their vagina or penis. And it's also important to remember that like most millennials have HPV. Like we were too young, or we were too old mostly to get the Gardasil shot when it first came out. And when it did first come out, like it wasn't really all that pushed to people, especially not guys. So crazy amounts of millennials have HPV. And so we'll probably get some sort of warts around their genitals or even their throat.
Right. And to get the vaccine, you have to complete the series, right? And so even if you were like starting the process when you were younger, if you don't complete it, it could put you at risk.
And they have changed the rules around the vaccine now, so you can get it up to the age of 46. And science is out about whether or not you should, like, because millennials already have HPV for the most part, like it's, some studies say that if you get it, it will still help you fight off any sort of cancer-causing HPV that might already infected your system. But other studies say it's not. So me and my doctor have talked about it a few times, whether or not I should get it as an adult.
Yeah, I think the problem is I don't know if I got it as a child. How
Yeah,
do
I
you
definitely
know what
didn't.
vaccines you got if you like don't go to the same doctor anymore?
I mean, you could call for your medical records. You could also get a test done to determine what sort of vaccines you've already had.
That's true.
Jay recently had to do it for college to find out if he had his mumps rubella shot.
He must have.
So he probably did, but he can't find any records of it. And the doctor or the test he got done actually says he's missing rubella, which he might have gotten it done and just been like worn off because it does happen. But he's supposed to get a rubella shot now.
So the other thing it could be is herpes. So we went from warts to herpes. And so people think herpes is gross, but the truth is that so many people have it. I actually believe, so I have a perfect immune system. You don't know this. You probably do know this. I never get sick, although I did get sick last March for the first time like in my entire marriage. I've like never even been sick while in 10 years with Pat. He was shocked by how sick I was. And so I always think to myself, like, oh, I have a really good immune system. And so I might have herpes and just not know because, you know, it's more likely to come out when you're sick. And if I'm never sick, what if I'm just like suppressing it all the time with this rock star immune system, you know?
Yeah, I mean, but if you don't have outbreaks, then it's not a big deal.
Right. No, but people are like, oh, herpes is gross, whatever. I'm like, hey, you don't know. I could have it. I don't know. Oh no, my internet is unstable. Can you hear me?
I can. You're not breaking up too much. You like have shifted a bit, but it's been fine.
Can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
Anyway, my point was that herpes is not gross, so lots of people have it.
Definitely. And it's not like that dangerous either, right? If you don't have an outbreak, you're not going to really spread herpes to anybody. And if you do an outbreak, they only last like a week or so. So nothing to like worry yourself about. And there's medication to decrease outbreaks.
Right. And there's medication, right? You can use condoms. You could do other things while you have an outbreak. You could snuggle. You could bake cookies. You could do hand stuff. I don't know. You do plenty of things. Let's see. Other things, there might be, oh, veins. I never thought about this, but some people, I guess their veins like swell and grow and they become bumps on your vagina. And it happens a lot during pregnancy, it said. But so if your vagina gets very, I should be saying vulva. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I should be saying vulva. I've been saying vagina this whole time. The vagina is the inside, the vulva is the outside. If you have a vein, right. I'm talking about the whole shebang. If you have veins, you're perfectly fine. Or it's perfectly normal, is my point.
Yeah, I was actually surprised about the varicose vein thing because like I knew about varicose veins on like legs and stuff like that. But I didn't ever realize like they could happen around your vagina. So that was like kind of surprising to me, or around your vulva. That was kind of surprising to me.
Yeah. I mean, they said it was more common during childbirth, which makes sense, right? Because you're like
pushing.
But I found that interesting. And then last but not least, it could be syphilis.
Oh, yep.
Or last is actually cancer. It could be cancer. But second to last is syphilis. So if you have a small painless bump on your genitals that lasts for a few weeks and goes away, it might be syphilis. And you want to catch that early, right, Liam?
Yeah.
Because if you don't catch it, it could become serious, including hair loss, death, heart attack, so much, blindness. And so the moral of this, well, yeah, no, but that's what I mean. If you don't catch it, it could progress.
Yeah.
Right.
But I don't think stage 3, like syphilis, hasn't really been around in America for a while for most humans.
Yeah, but if you are not going to the doctor, who's to say?
Yeah.
Right. Like there are some people who just avoid the doctor, and so they just like tough it out, and then things progress.
Yeah.
So the point is that you should be aware of your vagina, that you should not convince yourself it's cancer, which is what I definitely would do in this situation, and that you should go talk to a doctor if you're really concerned, because this video is not medical advice. It's just us talking about what it could be.
Definitely. And a lot of these things can also occur on testicles too, like cysts, ingrown hairs, moles, HPV. All those things can happen like on any sort of sexual anatomy.
Right. And so if you want to take a peek at your genitals, you can look in the mirror, right? Or you could use your smartphone, right? Flip the mirror. Don't take a picture.
Or I mean, do take a picture so you can like keep track of like how your genitals are looking.
Sure, I would not, because I would be convinced I would lose my phone the next day, and then there'd be a picture of my vagina out there in the universe, and not even like a really graphic photo, like not even like a trying to be cute photo. Or this one is tough, but if you have a partner, you could ask your partner.
Yeah.
Hey, take a peek at my vagina. I have a bump.
Sometimes it even is partners that like notice things. Like I forgot who it was, but like a friend of mine, she told me that like her partner noticed like a lump in her breast, and they thought it was breast cancer, but it turned out it was just a cyst. But like, yeah, sexual partners can be the ones who are like, hey, like, did you notice this about yourself?
Right. And it's embarrassing, or it can be embarrassing. But the truth is, like, would you rather catch a mole before it like spread? Like, would you rather be aware of your issue, or spend a few minutes embarrassing? Then, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
It's embarrassing. I'll admit it. Like, I would be mortified, but I would also suffer through it. I've done more embarrassing things in my life.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, it's not like really sexy, and like it's your sexual organs, and like you hope to have sex later on probably, and then you're like, right, hey, by the way, check out this.
It's really the least sexy thing you could do with your vagina.
Definitely.
Okay, so moving on to your article.
Yeah, so my article is I actually did what you usually do and just Googled sex, because I just been like off recently. So but my article is about like a sex question column, whatever those things are called. Advice column is what they're called. So it was an advice column about sex, and I was like, I told them that we should just like, you know, read them and then like discuss what we thought about them. So the first one was about, are you gonna say something?
No.
So the first one was about,
I'm just ready.
Yeah, you are ready. The first one was about a girl. They were all written by women about their boyfriend. So it is like cis, homonormative, whatever, or heteronormative. But this first one is about a woman who has her boyfriend talks dirty during sex about like fantasies he wants to do, but then like outside of sex he doesn't want to do those things, or even like in sex he doesn't actually want to do them. He just like likes to talk about them, which I think is very common.
Well, and outside of sex, he thinks they're actively gross, right?
Yeah.
So he doesn't just like not have interest. He's like, no, thank you.
So one of them is like, right, like while he's eating her out during sex, he might say something like, "Oh, I would love to eat your ass out" or whatever. But then in real life, he's like, "Oh no, that would be like gross to eat someone's ass."
Right. And so the advice they gave was that they don't really want to do it, right?
Yeah, that they don't actually want to do it, which I think is like, I agree with that. It's probably just like dirty talk, or even like a lot of times like people, we like text message stuff that like we don't actually want to do in real life, or we watch porn about things that we would never actually want to do, but like that thought about doing them is like really sexy.
See, I don't agree. I think that they do actually want to do it, but that they're afraid to commit. And so that, like, I think if you're having sex and you're bringing up a specific action over and over again, then it's possible you do want to do it, but you're just afraid to take the actual step of doing it. Like, I really want to try sushi. Do you know this? I've never had sushi. I just think I might like it. I don't know. I might like it, but I am too afraid to take the first bite of sushi. I bought it. I've ordered it, and I'm just like, sorry, I can't do this. But once I get past the first bite, maybe I would really like it, and I'd just be eating sushi all day. That's a real example.
I mean, I guess I can kind of see that.
So, but no, isn't there, like my husband skateboards, and he really wants to try these new tricks, but there's like this barrier to him trying the new trick. And once he does it and he lands it and he's like, that was awesome, he'll keep trying it, right? But the first attempt is really the hardest part.
I guess, right? It's like, right, like if you want to go swimming, right, and the water's cold and you're like, oh, it's gotta like jump in, but it's really hard.
Yeah.
I can see that.
That's what I think.
I think that sexual fantasies are a lot different than like sexual realities. But
that also
who
might
knows?
be true.
Yeah, I mean, we aren't this dude. But I know I definitely been like in that similar experience where like I may like text somebody something that I think sounds attractive, but I would never actually want to do it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I personally wouldn't ever text somebody something that I wasn't going to do because I I don't want to be peer pressured at a later date and they're like, I don't know, Lynn, you said.
Well, and that's like a common thing, right? Among like teenagers, they're like, oh, well, like they texted me saying they wanted to like do this and they got to my house and they didn't want to do it, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, it's like you get like text muscles or whatever, or text like bravery.
Yeah, no, that happens here sometimes, but they'll be like, yeah, we're going to have sex at 4:00 or whatever. And then they'll come here and they'll be like, Lynn, you don't know, you'll never believe it. I accidentally told this person I was coming over to have sex today, but I actually don't want to. And so I'm here because, we run a teen center.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. But like this person, they've gone so far that this person's like waiting for them to come over.
Yeah, and then they just like ghost them.
And they're just like, nope, like, which is perfectly consensual, right? I just think it's very funny to like not even say like, hey, I'm not coming over. They're just like waiting for them.
Yeah, I mean, teens these days, man.
Whatever.
They just ghost everybody.
So the next one,
yeah,
I thought was very interesting.
Yes. Let me look. Which one was the next one? It's the one where the boyfriend comes too quick.
Yeah.
So yeah, the girl in the second one, the woman was used to having like really long, intricate sex and coming from penetrative sex. But now she's dating someone new, and at first it was fine because they were super in love. But now she's like, he comes like really, really quickly, and so she's not able to climax as she would like to. What are your views on this?
Hold on 1 second.
Okay. Teen centers, man. You never know what's going on.
Everything's fine. I just want to close the door. I think that they need to take a vacation from sex.
You think
I think they're putting too much pressure on it.
She is definitely putting a lot of pressure on it. Like in the article, she talks about like, I'm always thinking about like how terrible it's going to be while we're doing it. And I'm like, damn, like no wonder it sucks.
Yeah, no, I think she needs to pause and like make like a clean break, like 3 months, no sex, just to like cause a fresh slate.
I got 3 months.
I don't know. That's just an arbitrary number. But this woman is like, you're right. She's like thinking about it. She's like anticipating it being bad. This poor person, the penis probably feels like trash. Like, can you imagine like knowing that you're not satisfying your partner and that they're like actively dissatisfied? I just think they need to pause and regroup.
Definitely. I think this person's like being way over dramatic about it and just like being too much into her own head. And even the person who responds was like, I think you just got lucky that you were able to have like such great sex at first with other partners. And you just kind of gotta like learn like what your partner likes and like kind of like try to figure out how to satisfy them in their own ways. I do like the idea of like taking a break. 3 months sounds like a hella long time.
I just picked it. Well, I mean, you read this article and this person seems like stressed. I think like, man, they need to spend some time to de-stress because like when you're really how do you relieve that pressure? Like if I'm trying to like run a really fast race, I'm like putting all this pressure on myself and then I'm like more likely to mess it up. Where if I just go running for fun, right? If I like take a few weeks off and I'm like, oh, I'm going to go running for fun, then I've given myself the space to like decompress. That's my thought.
Definitely. I think that's a good idea. I also though agree or think that like you might just have to break up. If you are just like not feeling it sexually and you're just going to continue to like kind of like berate this guy about like his inability to satisfy you sexually, then you're probably not going to have a good, healthy relationship.
Yeah, if it's a deal breaker, it's a deal breaker.
Yeah, and I worry that like if you wait 3 months not having sex, but still being like angry about it, and then like you go and have sex again and you're still not satisfied, that was like 3 months that you again like wasted of this person's life.
That's true. I do feel bad for this person.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like they're active. It sounds like they're trying to solve the problem though.
Yeah, they don't.
They're like trying creams and stuff.
Yeah, like they're not like negating their partner's feelings. They're like, oh, I'll try to like last longer. I'll try to do this and that. But you know, it's can be hard to last a while. Like most guys ejaculate within like 5-10 minutes of penetrative sex.
Right. If people do ejaculate too quickly, they could try wearing, and they're not wearing a condom, they could wear a condom, right? There are creams and stuff. You could engage in more sexual foreplay.
And this woman, like, she sounds like she doesn't even like really enjoy foreplay. She's like, I really like penetrative sex, but she doesn't like penetrative sex with a dildo or with like a sex toy, like a dildo. She doesn't like foreplay that much because like she's thinking about how bad the penetrative sex is gonna be. She just this person kind of like annoyed me.
Yeah, no, she sounded very, I mean, I guess it's important, right? Sex, but she sounded, I just feel bad for the partner.
Definitely. And it sounded like he was trying and she wasn't meeting him anywhere.
Right.
Like it was like he had to last longer, he has to do this, and he has to satisfy me. But like no, like it's a two-way street. Sex isn't about just one person doing everything. It's about both y'all making sure you're both getting satisfied.
Right. So the next one was about the person who has to think about sexy porn scenes whenever they're having sex to orgasm.
Yeah, which I didn't really get like what was wrong about that.
Yeah, no, my note is agree, normal. Like, the person was like, yeah, no, that's totally normal. And I agree, like, fine, sure. Whatever you want to do, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think about anything, I feel like, during sex. Like I feel like my brain is like just very like blank during sex. I'm not even like thinking too much about like my partner, really. I'm just like doing like sex.
Yeah.
But like if
that's what you need to do, that's what you need to do.
Yeah, if you have to fantasize about something, like fantasize about something. Live your life.
Although if it becomes a barrier, right? Where like your brain is so accustomed to certain, like if you watch too much of a certain porn type, right? That's like that can become an issue. If like you can only experience sexual pleasure from watching anime porn, that like so much so that like having sex with somebody in real life doesn't allow you to experience orgasm, that might be a time to like reevaluate, right? Do you like my example of anime porn?
Well, I mean, that is a good example. And that kind of goes from like whether or not it's like an arousal or a kink, right? Because we talked about that like a couple weeks ago. Where like if you need it to have sexual arousal, then it's a kink versus just like an arousal thing.
Sure. But to be honest, I don't really care anyway. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah. I mean, like, I also think like if you like these fantasies, like why not ask your partner to try and like do some of them, right?
Right. You can like engage them into the sexual behavior.
Yeah, definitely. That way, like you're not like I always think it's weird when people are like, oh, I fantasize about like Ryan Gosling while I'm having sex with my partner, things like that. Cause I'm like, what? Like I don't personally get it or do it. But if it's just like a certain sexual act, like you can always ask your partner about like helping them out.
Do you know what? I just told my husband that he looks like Ryan Gosling.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. He's dressing up for Ryan Gosling for Halloween.
Yeah, but I think, and I'm like, yeah, well, I guess it makes sense. You do look like Ryan Gosling. He didn't believe me.
I mean,
and what was that?
I don't think he looks like Ryan. Like outside of being white male with blonde hair.
He's got that cute swoopy bang. Okay. Anyway, whatever, Liam. How dare you insult my husband? The last situation was complicated, but it could be narrowed down quickly. This person engaged sexually with this person, and then they decided they weren't going to do it anymore, but she still fantasizes about those behaviors. And she wants to know whether that's like an invasion of his like personal space or like not consensual because she's thinking about him still while masturbating or whatever. And the person was like, no, your brain is not violating consent.
Yeah, definitely not. Like you can think about whatever you want. Yeah, you can think about whoever or whatever you want. I still like think about like past sexual encounters I've had when I masturbate and stuff. Or even if I'm not masturbating, I'll be like, oh man, that was like really nice. Like I don't ask the person or tell the person I'm thinking about it.
Right, and this person was going to send them a text.
They were like, hey, I'm jerking off.
Oh, hey, I'm still thinking about you.
Like that's probably worse than just doing it. Like if you tell someone you're doing it, or like you like ask them for permission, that's like not only like weird, but also creepy, and like it could feel like a little coercive. So yeah.
Yeah, and depending, I don't know how they ended the relationship, or like whether this person has a perception of how the relationship ended, but like if the person stopped seeing them because they thought they were clingy, or if there was like some sort of issue on the other person's part why they stopped having sex with them, and to get a text that says like, hey, I'm still thinking about you when I masturbate, they probably gonna be like, oh my goodness, I thought I dropped this person and here they are sending me this wild text.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure like many of us have probably gotten those weird texts where someone's like, hey, I'm jerking off thinking about you, and you're like, oh, like don't tell me that.
Oh, hey, I'm at the grocery store, I just got this text.
Yeah, like okay, like yeah, it's weird.
Oh, I'm at work, thanks for letting me know.
Thanks for letting me know you're like not at work.
No, as somebody who's received some of those jarring text messages, I can almost always say that nobody wants to get them.
Yeah, definitely not. Like unless it's like maybe your significant other or something like that. But
an active sexing relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. People love to send texts like that, actually.
Oh yeah, I think like it's a I think it's not even like how the person you're sending it to is going to respond about it. I think it's like more of like a self thing where it's like I want this person to know that I'm thinking about them, not because I think it's going to do anything for them, but because it does something for me. And I feel like it's almost like a domination kind of thing, and a bit like sexually like that's a bit unconsensual.
Yeah, I could see that.
It's
I've
like
learned my lesson. Oh, sorry. Oh.
It's just like, yeah, it's like sending a dick pic without permission.
Hey, can I send you a picture of my genitals? If they don't say yes, do not send the DP.
Yeah, or like, do you want to see my dick?
No, I think is the answer. So I used to, probably like a handful of times I would text somebody, because I have very vivid dreams. I text somebody like, hey, I had a dream about you last night. And if it were a male, multiple times they would think that I was like I was initiating some sort of like weird sexual conversation. So now like when I send a text like that, I'll be like, I had a dream with you were in my dream last night, you were golfing or whatever, just to be very explicit off the bat that like this is not me trying to be flirtatious. This is me like communicating as a friend.
So many dudes always jump to the we're gonna have sex thing. Like it's never like just take a chill. It's not always about to have sex.
Yeah, no, it's like when you're in the friend zone, but it's the opposite. Like you want to be in the friend zone, but people keep trying to put you in the have sex zone.
Yeah.
It's like, I just need friends. I'm just here for a friend.
Right? I just want someone to talk to.
I would like to text with you about my dreams without you assuming it was a sex dream.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Well, that was fun.
Cool. Yeah, it was good doing this after a couple weeks off.
Yeah. So smash that subscribe button.
Hit them likes.
Yes. And we'll see you next week.
Yep. Have a good one, everybody. Adios.
Bye.